Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manas Sinha and it is so good to see all of you lovely people once again. In case you're new here, a very warm welcome from all of us. You have just tuned into that one show which satisfies your hunger for port technology as well as automobiles at one place, which basically means why should you be watching two shows when you can watch one? This one. Now just like every time, there's a lot of action that we have to cover in this episode, so let's get to it straight away by first showing you a glimpse of what you can expect over the course of the next half an hour. This week we'll be taking you for a ride on the new Bajaj Pulsar twins, the N250 and the Bajaj Pulsar F250. Then we'll be telling you all about the Samsung Galaxy M52, and then we'll take you for a ride in the BMW F900R as well. But right now we're going to start off with the Bajaj Pulsar. Now that motorcycle has been around for a long time, but in all those years, it's never been short of a success. That's because the Bajaj Pulsar series has got a lot of things right and at a reasonable package. Now though, there are new flagship Bajaj Pulsar motorcycles as Bajaj has come out with, and Anirudh got a chance to ride them and he's telling you all about them up next.
Now, in my opinion, a 250cc motorcycle is actually a very good entry point for anyone who is starting on motorcycling. And a striking evidence for that fact is the number of offerings that operate in this segment. Now, instead of naming all the monikers in this space, what if I tell you that a majority of them comes under one umbrella? And that is Bajaj. You have the Dominar 250, you have the KTM Adventure 250, you have the KTM Duke 250, and then you have the Husqvarna twins. So you get what I'm saying. But for long, we have been asking one question. Where is the Pulsar badge? Why hasn't it entered this segment? So after a lot of speculations, they're here. Your questions have been answered. So ladies and gentlemen, I am Anirudh. You are watching the Tech and Auto Show, and these are the new Bajaj Pulsar 250s. Now as you can see, the 250s have arrived in two variants. To my right is the N250, which is the Street Fighter version, and to my left is the F250, which is the paired version. Now before we get into what's the difference between the two of them, let's see what is similar.
The core aspects, including the frame, engine and cycle parts, make up for the common thread between the F250 and the N250. What's different are the looks. The N250 carries the lineage of the NS200, while the F250 builds on the lineage of the 220F. Now, the new Bajaj Pulsar 250s are not only the biggest Pulsars ever, but it will also spawn the new generation of Pulsars in the future and will use the same platform as well. Hence, these two are very important. The major difference between the N250 and the F250 lies in terms of design at the front. The N250 and F250 gets a projector headlight with two Vibros LED DRLs. The F250 gets a semi-fairing that seems to be packed quite more tightly than the 220F. And while looks are subjective, unlike the 220F, the F250 looks quite proportionate. The sculpted tank and the cuts and creases on the motorcycle gives it a very aggressive look, but something that has not been overdone. The paint finish, the quality of plastics and the switchgear on both the motorcycles felt premium, and we couldn't find any nicks even after close inspection. Speaking about the instrument cluster, it brings us to the set of features, and honestly the 250 Duo runs a bit lean in terms of it. The motorcycle gets a semi-digital analog unit including a digital speedometer and analog tachometer. The digital display shows essential information including speed, gear position and distance to empty. It should be noted that the 250s do miss out on the connectivity features. However, it does come with a USB port that is ergonomically placed right above the fuel tank. Now, the Pulsar 250s have come a bit late to the party, but it has arrived with a brand new engine nonetheless. Unlike the KTM derived engines, the 249cc unit is oil cooled and the engine is mated to a 5-speed gearbox. When asked why is there not a 6-speed gearbox, Bajaj stated that the priority was to retain the very essence of a Pulsar. The output figures are very close to the NS200 with a peak torque of 21.5 Nm that comes in at around 6500 RPM. and a power of 24.5 PS at 8750 RPM. This makes it the most powerful Pulsar yet. So now that we got the numbers out of the way, we must tell you that we were most opportune to ride the motorcycle both at the Bajaj's test track and as well as on the streets. Now, while the Pulsar 250 might not exactly see a racetrack quite often, we noticed how consistently and evenly the bike gets to its top limit. The F250 managed to hit a top speed of 144 km per hour while the N250 ran out of breath at 138. And these figures, let me tell you, are not bad at all. On the streets, our expectations of these bikes being an ideal motorcycles were justified. Unlike the NS200 that I had ridden before, the 250s didn't need to be revved all the way to the top to get to the meat of the power. The engine is very tractable and does not get uncomfortable even if you cruise on the 5th gear at 45 km per hour all day long. Speaking of riding all day long, it brings us to the comfort, and the 250s really carries the basic formula from the previous Pulsars. With the difference in the handlebar, the F250 felt a little bit more committed than its Street Fighter sibling. But the position felt comfortable and nothing that would strain even for long distances. The N250 gets a proper Street Fighter position that works like a charm in traffic. The riding position lets the rider make quick flicks in traffic and handle the bike very well through tight spaces. Combine all of these aspects with the slip and assist clutch and the city riding just becomes a whole lot merrier. Now what's left are the cycle parts. The 250 gets conventional fork with 37mm travel at the front and monoshock at the rear. Both are set to the same tune, and we found out that the setting is plush but not so much as to lose confidence during corners. The motorcycle gets a 300mm disc at the front and 230mm disc at the rear. While the bite and feel of the front brakes felt laudable, the rear brakes often felt spongy during heavy braking.
So we are wrapping up the day, and having spent enough time with both of these motorcycles on the test track as well as on the streets, I have one thing to say. I'm impressed. Now, the numbers on the paper and the price tag might place these two eerily close to its younger siblings, but I assure you, these are very different packages, or very promising packages indeed. So, if you are looking to tap into the quarter-liter segment in India, the one thing I can tell you is that your list just got a little bit longer. Also, if you are one of those people who have almost fixated on the NS200 but have second thoughts about the 250s, there is no reason for you to wait a bit longer, save a little more, and go for these instead.
Now let's move on to the world of technology and let's talk about laptops. Now if you're in the market looking for a new laptop, HP has a new laptop called the HP Pavilion Aero. What is it? What's good? What's bad? What's different? Well, let's head on over to Darab to find out more.
HP is one of the most common laptop brands when it comes to Windows laptops in the Indian market. More often than not, HP is the go-to choice for someone looking for a business or a study laptop in a mid-range budget. Now, HP has come up with this laptop, the HP Pavilion Aero 13, that comes as one of the lightest laptops in the market, and I was intrigued to see exactly how light and how well of a performer this laptop is. And today I will tell you just that. Now, starting with the design, apart from looking really good, the HP Pavilion Aero 13 is the lightest laptop that I have ever used. That's right, it weighs under a kilo, and after years of using old and heavy Windows laptops, this felt almost weightless. Otherwise, also the HP laptop has a nice brushed aluminium finish with a sleek and slim profile. We got this rose gold sort of a color which looks pretty good. Couple of times people noticed this laptop sitting on my desk and mistook it for an Apple laptop, so I guess that's good. The slim profile means that HP had to let go of the LAN port, but we still get the HDMI port, 2 USB-A ports, 1 Type-C port and a 3.5mm headphone jack. All in all, it's a pretty good design, it's super lightweight and it looks really good. So the display on the HP Pavilion Aero 13 is a 1920 by 1200 resolution panel that comes with a 60Hz refresh rate and 400 nits of peak brightness. Now the display is good and is bright enough for all environments. It's also responsive and smooth thanks to HP's flicker-free panels. The color accuracy is crisp, One can easily tell the different shades of a color, and editing images is quite nice on the HP Pavilion Aero 13. Watching YouTube videos and Netflix is also a pleasing experience. All in all, it's a great display, crisp enough, and is right up there with some of the best laptops in this segment. Now the HP Pavilion Aero 13 is also a good performer. I used this as my primary laptop for over 2 weeks and it did not show any signs of slowing down or heating up. The AMD Ryzen 5 5600U processor handles multiple tasks pretty well. Now I use the laptop mostly for work or watching videos and did things like writing, researching, editing images, uploading footage and the likes on 2 screens, and the laptop handled those tasks pretty well and smoothly. On an average, multiple Google Chrome windows loaded with tabs along with Microsoft Word, a couple of notepad files and few other apps all on 2 screens took about 50% of CPU usage and 70% of RAM. However, I did not experience any lag. We also heard about reports of Windows 11 slowing down AMD CPUs. However, during my usage with Windows 11, the HP Pavilion Aero 13 showed no signs of slowing down. Another impressive thing about the laptop is that despite its slim and thin profile, the thermals are really good. Throughout my usage, there were no signs of heating up on the HP Pavilion Aero 13. Now this is subject to heavier testing like editing videos or playing games, but if you're using this laptop only for work, study or entertainment purposes, it will show no signs of heating up. The battery, also the 43 watt hour unit, easily gives you over 4 hours of backup. So the HP Pavilion Aero 13 is the perfect laptop for those who like to do things on the go and prefer portability with some performance capabilities within a budget of 75,000 rupees. The laptop is the lightest laptop I have ever used and it performs well. It looks really good and it has a great display, so it's an easy recommendation.
Now at the start of the show, we spoke about the new Bajaj Pulsar twins, and similarly, BMW had also come out with a pair of twins for the Indian market called the BMW F900 XR and the BMW F900R. The XR was a more adventure-focused version of it, but the BMW F900R promised great value for money. Well, I got my hands on the motorcycle to find out just how good value for money offering that motorcycle is. So if you want to get yourself a BMW motorcycle, a big BMW motorcycle, and you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, your most accessible option is the BMW F900R. Today we're going to find out what's good, what's bad, and what is it exactly that you get for your money. First thing first, the F900R is actually quite compact despite it having a muscular look. Our test unit came with these saddlebags, which along with some other things on the motorcycles are all accessories, so keep that in mind. And the story of the F900R being compact continues when you're on the bike as well, because once you're on it, it really does not feel like a motorcycle that's knocking on the door of the liter class segment. It feels compact. The only thing that feels rather comparatively large are these large tank shrouds, but other than that, it's a compact motorcycle. In terms of comfort, you can put both of your feet firmly onto the ground like I am. For reference, I'm 5'10". The handlebar, you only have to reach out to it slightly, but the foot pegs, they're comfortable, but they are a bit higher up for my preference. So me being 5'10", can find this motorcycle a little bit compact at times, so I wouldn't really recommend it for tall people. A special mention of also just how comfortable the F900R is in terms of ergonomics. The seats are comfortable and the motorcycle holds you firmly in place no matter how hard you are riding. And yes, you can actually have a pillion rider on the motorcycle with ease as well. Also, the motorcycle is not painfully loud and instead has a subdued exhaust note, something which I quite liked. Now the question of where your money is really going into this motorcycle, as per me at least, is the fact that this is a BMW at the end of the day. So they have done some really good things here and there, small little things that make the motorcycle feel premium and feel much more valuable than what you might see it as from afar. A short story to give you a reference: when I was testing this bike, there was another 1200cc performance-oriented street-naked motorcycle that costed twice the F900R's price. That was black too, this is black too, and the paint quality on this is better. And the build quality and all the other things in terms of pure quality, your touch points, your feeling, everything is, if not better than that bike, at par at that bike. So that is the level of craftsmanship that you get with a BMW. And it doesn't stop there either. The F900R comes with this massive all-digital instrument cluster which has a great visibility, UI design, and the quality of colors or graphics or animations, everything is top-notch. This makes it not only the best in its segment, but also one of the best on any bike, any price tag in the world. But moving on, let's talk about the riding experience. The F900R comes with an 895cc inline 2-cylinder engine which is water-cooled and makes a chunky 105 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 92 Nm of torque, which peaks at 6,500 RPM. And this should give you an idea that this BMW is all about that smooth mid-range. And while yes, the motorcycle behaves like a big, fast motorcycle at that point in the RPM band, however, the motorcycle will just make you want to cruise and take it slow. Slot it in a higher gear and you can lug around the engine with no resistance from the bike at all. And this makes for a very calm riding experience which, given how refined this engine is, makes for a very pleasant ride. The gearbox isn't so good though, and finding neutrals can be rather tricky. At least that was the case on our test bike. Once up to speed though, the gearbox was decent. In terms of ride quality, the suspension and chassis setup makes the BMW pliant through even bad patches of roads. And while it is not a very agile motorcycle, like the new Ducati Monster for example, it will still hold on to its line with confidence when you show it some nice roads. And topping it all off, the brakes have good bite and feedback too. All in all, the F900R came across as one of the smoothest, no drama motorcycle in its segment, and that is something that a lot of people will appreciate. So to sum it all up, the F900R gives you value in ways that you don't really see it on paper. How the motorcycle has been put together, the touch points, the brake feedback, how the suspension has been set up, all these little things really add up at the end of the day and make this motorcycle feel a lot better package than what you would see it as when you compare it on paper. So much so that I, being not a touring person and a track person, I would actually love to take this motorcycle out for a ride and ride it for 8-10 hours in a day. That is how good this motorcycle is. So my recommendation would be, don't judge it on paper, take it out for a rest ride and you will see what I'm talking about. Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show and I'm your host Manav Sinha. Now as promised, it's time to talk about one of the most requested phones here at the Tech and Auto Show, which is the Samsung Galaxy M52. I know there's a lot to be talked about the phone, so let's head on over to Abhik to find out more.
So Samsung has been aggressively updating its mid-budget smartphone segment in India to rival brands like Xiaomi, Oppo, Realme, OnePlus and more. Just over a month ago, we saw the debut of this, the Samsung Galaxy M52 5G, Samsung's leanest, meanest smartphone in the mid-budget segment. Now the phone comes in two variants in India and the price starts at roughly 30,000, but you may also get a discount given the festive sales in the country. On paper, the phone comes with loads of eye-catching features such as a 120Hz display, a 5000 mAh battery and the mighty Snapdragon 778G SoC. We have extensively used this phone for over a month and in this video we'll break down all the features that Samsung is promising and most importantly, should you even consider buying this phone in the first place. We'll start with the design, and the Samsung Galaxy M52 5G comes with a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED Plus display, yet it feels extremely light to carry. Despite a large screen, the sleek form factor does create a difference, and the Galaxy M52 5G does not appear like a clunky brick in your pocket. It weighs barely 173 grams, which makes it lighter than the Mi 11X 5G and the OnePlus Nord 2. The phone also measures just 7.4mm in thickness. So for our review, we received a black color unit which Samsung calls the blazing black color option. There's also an icy blue color option that gets a similar textured rear panel. The camera module has a very subtle bump to it, so the phone doesn't wobble too much when you keep it on a flat surface, but the back is still made of a polycarbonate material and will leave fingerprint marks if you're not using a protective case. The front panel has a Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection, and we did not see any visible scratch marks even during our month of usage time, but we tested the phone indoors and did not keep it in our pockets where it is more susceptible to scratch marks. But the screen still offers great color accuracy with deeper blacks. If you enjoy watching movies on your smartphone, then the Galaxy M52 5G will not leave you disappointed. But at the heart of the Galaxy M52 5G, there sits the Snapdragon 778G SoC. We were able to carry forward most of our daily tasks like email, social media, web browsing, and even heavy gaming. With 4 to 5 apps running in the background, the phone did not face any issues, and mind you, all this with the maxed out 120Hz refresh rate. We also played notable racing and action titles like Asphalt 9 and Garena Fire Max at times, switching back and forth, and the 8GB RAM managed to run both the apps with minor stutters. During gaming session, the phone, mostly indoors, did not face any heating issues. The Samsung Galaxy M52 5G comes with Android 11 based One UI 3.1 out of the box. That can be a bit challenging if you are switching platforms, but the phone comes with loads of bloatware that makes the initial software experience a bit cluttered. You also get fingerprint scanner at the side and also find face unlock for biometric security, but both of them didn't work efficiently during our test. We finally come to the cameras. We get 3 cameras at the back. At the top we have the 64 megapixel primary camera, right below it we have the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and at the bottom we have the 5 megapixel macro camera. At the front we have a centrally aligned hole punch cutout that houses the 32 megapixel camera for selfies and video calling. Most photos during our test were strangely sharp with high saturation levels that we also saw on the Galaxy M51 and the Galaxy A52s 5G. The 5 megapixel macro camera on the Galaxy M52 5G was just not able to deliver sufficient performance. Additionally, the selfies on this phone were also extremely bright and showed high saturation levels that some users may find annoying. We finally come to the battery, and the 5000 mAh battery unit in this one easily lasted for an entire day even with heavy gaming and 120Hz refresh rate enabled. The Samsung Galaxy M52 5G maxes out at 25 watt fast charging, which is not great when you compare it to its immediate competitors at this price range. Inside the box you get a 15 watt charging brick as well as a USB-C charging cable. Unfortunately, the Samsung Galaxy M52 5G does not have an audio jack. With all this, we finally come to the most important question, that is whether Samsung Galaxy M52 5G is worth considering. The short answer is definitely yes. You see, the sleek form factor does create a big role here, as the phone has a 6.7-inch large screen, but it doesn't feel so big in your hands and you can still see it has a very nice grip to it. Secondly, the performance that easily lasted for an entire day. We get good battery backup, you can even do gaming, and you get the 120Hz refresh rates. Goodness. But if you are a smartphone user who is more concerned about cameras, the camera performance on this one is just average. So if you are going to the store and having expectation with a great camera performance, Samsung Galaxy M52 may not be the right choice for you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Anything you have to say? Anything you want us to cover? Well, reach out to us on Twitter. We're more than happy to talk. If it's about technology, reach out to us at News18 Tech. If it's about automobiles, tweet out to us at News18 Auto. And remember, by logging on to news18.com, you can read up more on both these industries. Well, that's about all for today. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.